crazy now. So he didn't say my season's been over there. You know, these coaches don't want it. But I haven't seen him. So I hope he's here. He didn't know. I'll tell Concord he's on Sunday. I'll tell him
She's running love and kisses. Is that what she's trying to
That's a fabulous run.
They were wanting
Hi, Robbie. How much you want to bet? $3. Okay. No spread.
I remember. It was a big transition. Huge. I refer to that in my.
She got wild or when I was in Mustang.
You were the
Then you have to write when you read that.
Steve was working all the time. He was working 2 or 3 times.
Oh, see, that is
We know you love it. But she did.
Chaminade, always trees.
Yeah, I think we lost to Chaminade and Tulane last year in Maui.
That was true.
Last time he was down before. He came by a couple of years ago.
He was different.
Yeah.
He was different. Okay.
Hey, Coach, I wanted to say that it's always been a pleasure playing.
Let's continue.
Yeah, I will.
We're going to go ahead and start the evening tonight. We're going to have dinner and everything. I'd like to welcome everyone to Byron Buckley, his retirement dinner. Unfortunately, his retirement dinner, he's had such great success at North Central High School, and you will be sorry to see him go, and we hope he sticks around the tennis center all the time and helps everybody out with their tennis. I'd like for everyone to stand for the invocation. Given their time and their talents so that we may become better students, athletes, and citizens of this community. And let us not forget what is really important, and that is to give back twofold what we have received. Amen.
It's been a long time. How are you, Miss Reddick?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right, taking care of myself.
Good.
What?
Kansas. What do you like? Villanova and Iowa. Villanova and Iowa.
No, he's running.
We're going to enjoy tonight as well. To start out, I'd like for anyone who has won 4 state championships to stand up, please. All those team members who are on 4 state championships. All right. Remain standing. Remain standing. Stay standing up. Yeah. All right. Anybody who won 3 state championships, stand up. Who have won 2 state championships? Alright, and all those that have won 1 state championship, please stand. What you see are 21 years of excellence in North Central High School tennis, coached by Byron Buckley. Thank you. Tonight we're here to honor someone who devoted himself to high school tennis, and particularly North Central High School tennis. Before we let the coach say a few words, and we know he'll want a time to rebuttal a few of these things that we'll say about it, I'd like to thank Libby Hammond and Connie Held and Ann Riley for all the work that they've done. I'd also like to recognize a few guests here tonight. Some of them are honored, some of them are not so honored because not so honored. There you are. But Lafayette Jeff, athletic director, Jack Schull, and Coach Nathan Thomas. Anita Ruper. From North Central High School, Miss Billy Walker. Just an enthusiastic tennis, person at North Central, but he allowed a lot of us to kind of leave the school and go practice every once in a while. We really appreciated that. I'd like to introduce Mrs. June Shirley, who is the wife of John Shirley, who was my first tennis coach at North Central High School. Tammy Hunsucker, who is Coach Byron's daughter. Who's had to put up with the coach and all these years. Our first speaker, there's several, so we're going to go through these quickly. But our first speaker comes all the way from Jennings County. It was the principal, Charles Hurley.
I won't take up a lot of your time tonight, but if you're going to do something, it's good to do it right. And we're here for one reason as far as I'm concerned. It was a wonderful meal and good fellowship, but we're here to honor Byron Buckley. Now, when I talked in front of my high school kids, I always called him Coach Buckley. It was just he and I. It was Buck, and so I'll refer to him as Buck, and you tolerate me on this if you will. Byron came to North Vernon, I believe, in 1961. He became our tennis coach. Our tennis program was almost non-existent. We didn't have really a very good team at all. We had this young man coming out of college. He wanted a job. First and foremost, you got to have somebody that can be a good teacher. Boy, if he's a good teacher and a good coach, both, then you got something. And this guy was just exactly that. In 1971, one of the organizations that he sponsored there at our high school, the Junior Historical Society, invited the President of the United States to come to our high school, and the President of the United States did that. And one of the reasons for it was this guy right here. Richard Nixon was president, and his mother had grown up at least several years in Jennings County. And the Historical Society had got her a plaque, and President Nixon came and dedicated that plaque, and we spent a day together, and it was a great experience. Later on, of course, Watergate came, and things weren't so great. But his foreign policy was excellent, and Buck appreciated him very much, and I did too. By the way, he won that next year in the landslide, right? You know? But Buck's one of these guys that's never, he's never at a loss for words. My gosh, we'd be going to play somebody. Columbus High School was just one school at that time. They had a pretty decent tennis program. Not what North Central, because North Central's been the epitome, and you guys, and I know that too. I was with the IHSA several years as a member of their board. So I know about North Central's tradition. But North High School now and East High School, they're like this. But when Columbus High School had a pretty good program, you know what? Old Buck went up there and beat him. He beat him. And all those people there, some of those rich people, and they're good people, they had a little bit more money than we had down in Jennings County. They didn't say this, they're polite. But you could read it in their face. They were saying, how's come that bunch of hill jacks down there came up here and beat us? How can they do that? Right there's the reason of why we were able to do that. He inspired these kids. He's a motivator, a real terrific man. And he was a fine teacher. You kids that have had him as a teacher as well as a coach, you know what I'm telling you the truth about that. And I'm proud of Byron Buckley. I'm proud that he's my friend. And he would get out. Buck's not a very big guy. I'd meet him up here at the state track meet or some event, and he'd be glad to see me, and I'd be glad to see him. He'd be walking alongside of me talking, and looking up at me. He looks up at most people, And I want to tell you tonight, Byron Buckley, listen to me. I look up to you tonight because you've accomplished something that no other coach in the history of Indiana high school athletics has ever done. Right here tells it all. This guy's the epitome of coaching here in Indiana. And I know you guys that have played for him, you've seen him during the down times. But I never saw him whip. I've seen him defeated, never saw him whip. And he'd talk to himself. And he knew full well down here that he shouldn't be able to beat that team. But you know what? He'd talk to himself and get himself worked up to the point to where he thought he could beat them. And then he'd get the kids the same way, and they would win. And I know that when he came here, North Central officials got in touch with me. I believe Mrs. Shirley's husband gave him a recommendation. I gave him a recommendation. They asked me about him, and I said he will continue the great tradition of North Central High School tennis. He will continue that tradition. And boy, what a truth I told. And so I want you guys to know, and you already know this, but I'm going to tell you, he's not a big, imposing man, but to me he's a giant. One of his greatest contributions to us, my students at North Vernon High School, and later Jennings County High School when we made the new school, is that he was a role model. Not only did he get into their heads, but he got into their hearts. And he's not a big man, as I said, but in that chest right there beats the heart of a champion. Don't you ever forget it. Congratulations, Byron. I'm proud to have known you. I'm proud to have been your friend. Thank you.
I'd like to introduce Coach's Coach, someone I think that all the juniors here know, and most of the parents who have kids playing junior tennis, P.A. John.
I was told tonight I had 3 minutes. And I'd like to see if Byron and I can combine 3 minutes between us for one of our little speeches. I think what was just said, that Byron has a heart, a passion for the players and a caring for the players. I think that's what makes a great coach. I've known Byron since 1974. It's been a friendship that I've really treasured as a tennis professional and as a part of the North Central tennis dynasty, so to speak. The team, the players he is out there tonight, all the players that are here in this room, and the parents, are a product of a nice person, and a person that cares about his students, and a person that really has truly contributed in a way that I don't think any other coach could have done. The neatest thing about Byron is that all the things that people say about him, and the nice thing they say about him, is true, not phony. And I think a lot of times when we get speeches, we say a lot of things that we don't really mean. And I'm going to say something tonight, I've said it before in some talks. I'm extremely happy that I've known Byron all these years, and what he's done for North Central's team as building this bondage that all the players have felt. And I think that's what the reason why this evening came by the way it did, that all the players really want to be here for Coach Buckley. Not that I have to be here, but I want to be here. And this is an evening that I will never miss for anything, and I'm extremely proud of being part of this dynasty and being Byron's friend and helper sometime. And I'm going to stop it right here. It's the shortest speech I've ever given. Congratulations, Byron.
Now I have the great pleasure in introducing my favorite tennis teacher, a person who inspired me by 3,654 banana splits in my entire life. Mrs. Tennis, the USA, Barbara Wynn.
Well, Byron, Elaine, Tammy, and your 2 sons, I wish they were here. I would like to say that since my part over North Central was kind of building a community tennis program, I want to thank you and tell everybody that even though I didn't get him all day because he was always such a popular teacher, he always seemed to find a government or a history class to teach in the summer in the mornings. But many afternoons he came over and he was a leader in our competitive techniques program and in our afternoon team practice, and he was just a great inspiration. I think one of the reasons Byron is a great inspiration is that he has a beautiful family and lives really in peace in himself, and he always cared for each boy here. I mean, every boy was important, how he was doing in school, what he was achieving, and the goals that they set out. How many boys here he wrote to colleges and and he nominated them to be part of an all-star team. All that takes a lot of work that no one can imagine how much, and he did it for all of them, and you know, unselfishly. So I congratulate you for the great part that you play in every young man's life, not of all just that are here, but all past. And I was asked to go to the tennis house. So I'm going to pull a David Letterman here real quick. And these are for people to take home. The ones that I found from the tennis house that are here, I think those will probably go back. But there's, first picture. I quite like David Letterman. PA demonstrating how to run to all the coaches and the students at North Central. And I'm so sorry that Andy said, some of these people he talked about, how many of you people have ever heard him talk about Sean Buck? Well, I saw one of his doubles teams that he always talked about, Brian Finnerty and Andy Sachs. I don't think they're here. But he was always talking about how wonderful they were. And Wayne, you just got to have this vintage picture. It was in one of the boxes, the Byron, Billy Howlett in the background. You all remember Billy Howlett? But this must have been, how long ago was it? Pass it right around. And Bill Cook and Hewitt Haynes. Here. All right. Then I have this great, we have a big shuffling of people to try to get this picture. David Bastian, Todd Luger, Sean Buck. This is, in fact, Sean Buck. He even signed his name on this picture. Todd Luger, Peter Chang, David Bastian. Come on, David. David, I ran into U.S. Open. He is now an agent and helping, Andy Olson, right? And so it's fun seeing him working with. And I have some great ones here. Here's Byron again. This goes in his scrapbook here. Here's Todd Luger. So we can share some of these. And here's another one of Sean Buck, David Bastian. And number one, all of these, they all signed their name. Naturally, they're number one. Byron Buckley's here again. And I'm just going to, David Letterman's. Also, I just have to know that Byron inspired the best of people here. He could get anybody to do anything. So I have a picture of him out rolling the courts dry. Now, you don't know what work this is. And also, Sally Luger did it for him, too. This was the same day. Here we go. Actually working together for these guys. There are no guys out there because we wanted you to win, so we're all helping you. I'll pass those around. And Todd, you got to have this one with your floppy long hair. This is for Todd Luger. And David Letterman. Here we go. Doug Purdy with the famous Mr. Raymond, Grandfather Raymond, who I don't think ever missed a match at North Central in 4 years. So I thought, this needs to go out of the tennis house and into your special scrapbook. And I don't know where Zach Hill is, or which of the Hells is here? Any of the Hells here? Everybody said, I didn't see you. Well, I might have been Rick's very favorite and Todd's very favorite first picture, but if you look at your face here, you're going to think maybe I didn't do such a good job. Anyway, can you believe that's a Hell way back when? And you can see he wasn't even as tall as that. So, and here's one of your friends too, one of the Winings that played a little bit. Make sure he gets that. So God bless you for all the memories of good times. It was fun digging out many pictures of the staff with you in it. And I thank you, and God bless everyone here.
All right, Coach, that's the end of the nice stuff. We've got several people in different eras of tennis who are going to speak, and since Bill Bastian and I were the captains of the first team, we thought we'd start with how you actually came to North Central. The year was 1975, and I was a senior with Bill Bastian over here, and we just come off of having Coach John Shirley. We mentioned Mrs. Shirley's here tonight. Coach Shirley was really my first high school tennis coach, a very colorful kind of guy. He had a highly competitive nature, which meant he wasn't adverse to caning. And he did that on a regular basis. You guys don't know. You don't know Coach Shirley. We also went through a spring season, and I don't know if they still have the spring season or not, but we had a spring season where we had Commandant Bill Walters, he was the assistant basketball coach, and he named the season from hell. He decided, he came out the first day of practice, he said, all right guys, I know nothing about tennis, but you're going to be the best conditioned tennis team in the state of Indiana. Well, we were, tennis player, I'm talking about conditioning, come on. We were running, we did stairs, and we did line drills, and we did stairs, and we did weighted vest drills, and we did more stairs, and we were the best conditioned players on the state. But when it came to the tennis match, he knew nothing, so he just let Bill and I set the match. It was great. He said, so, okay, Bill, what are we going to do? I don't know. All right, first one, Bastion 2, Rogers Junior Varsity. How'd you like that? So school started in the fall, and Bill and I got together and said, all right, we're going to have Commandant Walters again. We're going to be ready for this turkey. And so we got out, we had the first day of practice comes out in the fall, we had the two guys running. We said, all right guys, we're doing line drills, we're doing stairs, Walters is going to come out. And then we looked in the distance, and we saw this figure come out. And, from out of the fog, there wasn't really any fog, it was better for the story. But out of the fog came this guy, we knew this guy's a two-letter guy from the University of Evansville or something. And up he walks, and he stuck his hand down, and when he stuck out he said,
My name's Byron from James County. I'm your new coach.
you do that well.
We had a lot of fun the first year. We learned a lot from Coach Buckley, and I think he learned a few things from us. We learned that we probably weren't as good as we thought we were. And I think Coach Buckley, after our year, learned that he had to be a little more careful on who he selected as the team captain. We had fun.
Well, after that season, the coach went on to win 4 straight state championships. I'll say that after that season. He won 15 out of the last 21 years. His record, this is great, his record at North Central is 465 wins, 16 losses. That's unbelievable. Like 95%. Time at Jennings County was 679 wins and 59 losses, and he was the 1985 National High School Tennis Coach of the Year. Coach, standard's been set. Someone else is going to coach North Central High School. It's going to take someone really special to repeat what you've done. Oh, before Todd Luger's coming up just now, and before he comes up, I just want to tell you that we've got every era of high school tennis that Coach Buckley coached here. I just want to ask a question. Which was the best team? Which one? I know which one it was.
I'll tell you.
All right.
I'll tell you.
All right, Todd Luger.
That debate might go on for years. Coach, good to see you. I too have some stories from the what we call the transition period when you first came onto the North Central scene, and it was certainly an enjoyable time. But before that, I'd like to read something that was sent to Libby Hammond for this evening. It was, Dear Coach Buckley, good evening. I'm truly sorry that I'm unable to deliver my most sincere congratulations to you in person for such an awesome dynasty. My duties as a naval aviator preclude me from being able to be with you tonight. Since graduating from North Central, I've been on quite a journey pursuing a career in naval aviation. I'm currently a lieutenant commander flying the P-3C Orion, a submarine hunter. My career has taken me to every continent on Earth and has required my family and I to move 13 times to date. Been married to a wonderful lady named Joanne for 12 years. We have 2 kids, a son Jeff, age 10, wife about this tall. Daughter Jenna, age 7. Last July, we moved to our present duty station in Brunswick, Maine, in God's country. Maine's rugged beauty and rural lifestyle make it as ideal for raising a family as Indianapolis. Rural Yet I had discovered an indoor tennis club where there's a will, there's a way. Coach Buckley, thank you very much for directing my pursuit of an activity that continues to pay my family and I great dividends. I have traveled extensively around the world, and I can honestly say that along with a smile and some simple courtesy, the game of tennis universally overcomes language or custom barriers. The discipline and desire for excellence that you instilled in all of us was critical for success in many things in life beyond high school athletics. We both thought that at the end of our first 4-year run of state championships, in which you first coined the term dynasty, that eventually the team would have to come back down to earth. Well, by the looks of the invitation for this evening's tribute, our dynasty was the precursor to an epic. Well done. I'm glad that a few members of the team from my era were present tonight. Coach, I will never forget the great successes that you engineered for us. I would relive them in a second if afforded the opportunity. My best wishes to you and your family as you move on to a new phase of your life. Thanks for the memories. Sincerely, Sean Buck. And I told Rick I had to follow that. But it truly was a great time. During that stretch run of state championships, there were a lot of players that were fortunate to have been very competitive in the state of Indiana. And given the team concept of Indiana high school tennis athletics, rather than individual, the depth of the North Central program was just substantial. Therefore, our time on the tennis court was rather swift against most competition. The best thing that the coach, I think, gave to us was a sense of appreciation and sportsmanship. Not to go down to small schools and beat them like a drum and then put it in their face, but to act like gentlemen, to appreciate the game and the sport, and truly have a good understanding for why we were there. Because we had other alternatives. We could have been playing tournaments and traveling in the Midwest, but we chose to play for Coach, and it really was an enjoyable time. It did offer a lot of fun memories and stories, most of which have been relived either at the bar or over the table here this evening, that really provided a lifetime of memories. And I think that it would be tough to pick the one to say, but one thing I will say that you've earned the title of coach. We began using that phrase from the very get-go, and even though we set a couple of lineup cards as well in battles with Boston Carmel, you were still referred to as coach, and respected you and appreciated your effort with the team, and obviously through the years has been very successful. So from our era, I want to thank you very much, and hopefully the tradition will continue, but certainly the dynasty will live on. Thank you much.
We've got Kevin McCown, Doug Purdy. Guys up next. They think they have the best.
I couldn't.
Get that.
I'm Kevin McCown. I guess we represent the second era of winners that came through, and that's after those guys won, I guess, 4 years, 82, 83, 84. Doug was only participating in one of those, but he helped build it up a little.
How did you get those 16 losses?
I think one interesting thing to note is, although Rick Hurst never won a championship, all these guys, these older guys that are here, were instrumental in teaching us and bringing us up to the program when we were growing up. Because I remember them teaching at North Central and kind of grooming us and preparing us for the road ahead. So we have to thank you guys as well. You did play a significant role for us. I was told this was going to be kind of a humorous speech, and so I wrote a little poem to Byron, and there's some humor in there, and at the end it's got a more purposeful meaning, so bear through it. It's fall, and it's time for high school tennis to begin. Anticipation is great, because as always, North Central is expected to win. It's been a long summer, and we're all somewhat fatigued, but Coach Buckley is at hand to drive his trusty steeds. First practice, drills off the bat. As Coach Buckley announces, I've gotten too fat. Indeed, it has been a winter and summer of plenty. Coach Buckley has put on at least 20. Do not fret your calls a junior member. This is a yearly ritual, just as Christmas in December. He will lose all those pounds and then some more, I guarantee. I can assure you that, as I know all, and my name is Doug Purdie. All I wanted to do was play number one, but Doug Purdie was an obstacle second to none. Coach Buckley pulled me aside and said, "You'll get your shot. Tomorrow we'll start a best of 5. That's how you'll earn your spot." 2 weeks later, I'm 3-0 against the legend Doug Purdie. Nevertheless, my position is less than sturdy. For at our first match, it was Doug Purdie who was to play number 1 and me to play number 2. How could this be? I was told Coach Buckley was so wise and true. By year's end, I learned a great lesson. To play number 1 at NC was more than one's obsession. It was a team victory which Coach Buckley wanted to perpetuate, not the ego of a sophomore tirade. And real quickly, obviously, he knew more than I did as a sophomore coming in, and all I was thinking about is myself. And I learned, as you become part of the North Central tradition, that really the team is much bigger than any individual on the team. And when I came there, Doug was the leader, and he was meant to be that leader that first year we were there. And he did a wonderful job. And I learned a lot of stuff along that way, and Coach Buckley, in a subtle ways, got those points across. He never had to ring you around your neck, although he probably did my brother after I left. But he too wanted to say his thanks for all that you did for him through his years here. And you really played a significant role in his success as well. And thank you for everything you did for us. And I think it's great. You look around this room, and there's so many more bonds, within this room. And you're such an instrumental part in that bond between all these people. But we all have inner bonds, like Tom Rogers and everyone else here. We've all had some inner relationship, and it's such a great big family. And you come in here and you feel right at home. I think I've met my quota for my 3 minutes, and if I spoke less than PA, that's amazing. It's time for Doug to speak. I know he's got some more nice things to say.
I had absolutely zero idea that I was the only person that had only won 1 championship and was responsible for all those losses. I had no idea. None. Of course, again, I'm sorry to everyone for everything I've ever done. It's absolutely amazing, and I was thinking about this, being around this community in tennis for 80, 90, 100 years. So I couldn't say it all because I talked for 2 or 3 hours, which you were longer than today, which is amazing. But this is a toast to the coach, okay? When you think about the longevity in the game, it reminds us in Indianapolis of his name. If you grew up around here and were lucky, you were able to play under and know Coach Buckley. For this is no ordinary man or sir. He coached and won when we were lucky to have a trailer. We often forgot why he would win and win and win. The answer? To lose was simply not a sin. He understood you don't have to win to live. That was his gift and perspective. Even dealing with different temperaments, talents, and convictions, he never served notice of any evictions. Through his tenure on the North Central tennis courts, he played with Bobby Riggs and all types of sorts. But it was his team that made him hip, and winning another and another and another state championship. Most important, as we honor you tonight, are the memories and the respect we know which are right. The lives you have touched are too numerous to mention, as you gave each of us your utmost attention. On a personal note, I cannot thank you enough for your trust and care through times that were tough. The one reminder that keeps going through my mind, which shows all in the room of your kind, is you and your team's attendance at my grandfather's funeral 2 years after I left the halls of North Central. So as we gather here for our good friend, knowing our thoughts of him will never end, will everyone please raise their glasses in a toast to a wonderful man who should, but would never boast, due to the fact that we are all here to help celebrate and admire a man who is moving on to levels that always will be higher and higher. Cheers.
I've never had a drink in my life, Baxter.
I'm John Baxter, and this is David Helm. We'll represent the that's right, 86 to 90. 85 to 90. He's a year older. First, I'd like to just dispel one rumor. We were challenged here to say what the best teams were, and there's, I was reading the papers this year, and I see Schumacher's quoted as far as losing 3 points, so that had probably never been done. But I just wanted to set the record straight. In my senior year, we only lost 2. It was the most dominant team in Indiana history. Maybe not the best. When I think about Coach Buckley and high school tennis, besides all the on-the-court things, what I remember the most are the times in the coach's office. I'm sure the guys here who had the trailer didn't have this experience, but I know for us, the coach's office was our locker room, our gathering area. It was a place where you wanted to be on top 12 because no one else was allowed in there, and it was a great place to bond and to become closer as a team. What I always remember anytime we went out for one of our big matches was how Coach always instilled in us the tradition that North Central carried. That every time you were stepping out on the court, you were not representing just yourself or just the school. You were representing all the players that had played here before and were to play here to come. North Central, he instilled a pride that there was something you were going to take out on the court that was more than just yourself. You had all the past and your teammates playing with you for something bigger. And that was the first time I got a chance to do the team concept in tennis, and it was the greatest experience. And the 4 years were tremendous. And I loved your words of wisdom in the coach's office. That is definitely my fondest memories, Coach. Thank you.
I would just like to add what John said. I mean, those times in the office were great. If I'm specifically going to bring up an event that John and I remember vividly, and anyone who was around at that time would know, it would be the 86 state championship that was in dire jeopardy of being lost. It was 2-all against Carmel, who was the second best team in the state at the time. And John and I, me being a sophomore, John being a freshman, out on court 11, 2-all in points, tied up. We told Miles Nelson and Rick Tower, remember in the beginning, oh, don't worry, we're going to win. Don't sweat out. We're great.
He had told us 2-2.
Yeah, 2-2. John and I get out there, lose the first set 7-6. We start going crazy. We're like, this can't happen. You're cheating us, Mr. Buckley. You're cheating us. He brings us out there. He's like, now, David, just calm down. Play your game. Win the second set 6-0. Like, hey, now we're back in business. Third set, John and I decide, with our own brilliance, we'll switch sides serving. We switch sides, and now John is serving, or I'm serving. into the crowd of 500 people, which I hadn't been serving into before. Little change there, and we lose our serve, and we're down 3-1. Mr. Buckley comes out, okay, guys, let's just calm down, relax, put it together. So John and I were able to do that from Mr. Buckley's wisdom, and we ended up winning the match 6-3 in the third. 5 straight games. Mr. Buckley, definitely, we owe you for that state title in '86, because if it wasn't for your words of wisdom, John and I being the sophomore and freshman, I just folded right there. But, you know, I mean, that's what amazes me the most is how calm you are every year in and year out, because you've been through it so many times. And that's what I remember the most. And I thank you for that. And as far as Mr. Hurst in his thing for the best state championship team, that would be 88. Not only was that the double-digit team, we finally hit 10 state titles, but 5 of us went on to play Division I college tennis. We had 2 NCAA players out of that, and a MAC champion here in John Baxter. So we say that's the best team. Thanks, Mr. Buckley.
I really do feel old, and I feel like that's the Mr. Hurst from now on. All right, thanks. Next team is I think Andrew. This is Andrew Hell. At Next Era of playoffs.
I'm Andrew Held, and this is Ryan Dorman.
I have a quick announcement. We'll be taking things for the Sean Buck fan club is starting out there. So applicants who want to be in that can meet me out there after the dinner.
Well, first, I guess I'm probably one of the freshest guys out of the program. I've only been in college 2 years. I've only been away from North Central Tennis for 2 years. I'm down at IU now, and one of the great things I think that North Central Tennis has given to me is that now, you know, even down at IU, I can walk around wearing my North Central Tennis shirt with all the state championships all over it, and just brag about how well we did and how good we were. And I think, you know, that's one of the great things is that North Central Tennis kind of sticks with you forever. And one of the things we were able to do is still hang on to that. And I was still able to come back again this year and watch them. It was just like, you know, being at home again. And I think that's one of the great. One of the teams that I was on was nicknamed by Coach Buckley the Family. And I think that's probably one of the biggest parts of being a part of North Central Tennis. That it is a family, and that we're all a part of the same team, even 1976. But I guess I wanted to tell a little story about Coach Buckley. This is kind of humorous, I guess. We've had many stories over 4 years, but this is one thing I was actually not used to, being under the reins of PA as a youngster. Up until my freshman year was discipline. PA instilled in us a great deal of discipline. You weren't late for his classes, and you didn't act bad in his classes, and you just always behaved yourself. But one thing that happened with Coach, I don't know if he got soft over the years, but one of the things we could do, guys would always run in, coming in late. And that was just something we just didn't do before. Now we could kind of come in late, and there'd be no problem. Coach wouldn't make you run or do anything like that. But we get in there. I remember one particular teammate would arrive late every once in a while, and that was Jay Riley. And one of the things that Coach kind of learned to do now, instead of punishing, would he'd embarrass the player a little more. That would kind of get him to learn. One of the things he thought up was this fictional girl named Susie who would just take up all of our time. Whoever was late, he'd say, "Oh, you must have been with Susie." And this went on for about 2 years. And I remember one of the times after our state championship, we got to go down and see Governor By. Well, everybody knows that Governor By's wife name is Susie. Which, we got in line, we all got in line, we were all dressed up in our suit and tie, and we all get in line, go up and shake Mr. By's hand, get to look at this big trophy rack. It's got, pictures of Mrs. By, and Coach goes up to Jay, he's like, Jay, look, there's your Susie, there's your Susie. That was just a little taste of what happened over 4 years. But Coach, I just wanted to thank you from these guys. I guess it's 92, 93. I was one of the victims of the 2-year casualty. But I just want to thank you, Coach. You meant a great deal to all of us. And just good luck to you in the future. We love you.
One thing I'll take from North Central Tennis, and I believe everybody will take from it, from Coach Buckley, and his words of wisdom, will be the confidence we gained in life after North Central Tennis. I believe to everybody that played for North Central, we're all winners. We all went out there and won. And the thing was that was for some of us the first time we ever accomplished something in life, and an accomplishment gives you so much confidence to go out there. And some people go on and play college tennis, and people have played pro tennis, and a lot of people go out to the real world and get jobs and do whatever. Get jobs, start businesses, and really do everything. But I believe this is a key aspect, and it gives a lot of people that haven't had this opportunity that Coach Buckley has given us to go out and say we've done something, and we just are a level above everybody. Everybody in this room has risen to the occasion one time in their life, and the first start was at North Central Tennis for me, and I thank you, Coach, for being a great coach, and I'm going to have a little humor in here in a second. So, one thing I always remember, there's two sides of the North Central Tennis scene. There was playing tennis, and there was the bus ride. The famous bus rides where the seniors would be in the back, the upperclassmen, the middle class, the underclassmen would be in the middle, doing their homework, not real seriously, and there'd be Coach up there in the front seat, either talking to the bus driver. You had an opportunity to go up there. Some people would either get stuck there, or some people like me would go there on volunteer, and pick up some good Sean Buck stories. But and it draws me something that Mr. Hurley pointed to. They called you Buck. And I was thinking, Sean's last name is Buck, so maybe there was something there that was a resemblance. Coach Buckley would say how, Sean Buck, he's a 6'3", serving volleyer, and just everything. Just praise Sean Buck like he was the god of North Central Tennis. But there was also another thing up there in the front when we go up to Lafayette or any on a long distance trail. But there was a cooler with some turkey sandwiches and some Wheezy brownies that remain legendary in North Central Tennis. And I don't think Miss Wheezy here, but those were if you were to cut back on those Wheezy brownies, you'd take a couple 15 pounds off. But Coach, you've really done a lot for me, and I really appreciate it. I'm sure everyone here does. Thank you.
before we have our final group, Carl Crowder is here, and would like to say a few words.
I was a part of the 82, 83, 84 teams, and I probably should have come up with Doug and Kevin, but I didn't get that opportunity. When Connie Hill called me the other day and asked me if I wanted to say something regarding Coach Buckley and my experience, I was a little hesitant, only because I thought, how is my experience different from any of the other players that are in here? All the players behind me won state championships. All the players in front of me won state championships. And I'm thinking, how my experience is no different. I mean, North Central High School tennis was, the hardest part was making the team. And then basically it was you won 90% of your matches, you won 90% of the state championships, and then you shook the mayor's hand, and that was basically it. So, you know, I remember meeting Mayor Hunnett for the third time, and I was ready to say, you know, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be here next year, Mayor. So, you know, our longevity was much better than the state politicians, without a doubt. But what I wanted to really talk to and thank Coach Buckley for was I was a part of a young group of kids who, for the first time, were able to come to North Central High School from a junior high and had the opportunity to play high school tennis. And many thanks go out to the mothers and parents who were involved in getting junior high school students to be able to participate in the high school program. But I never really had the opportunity to thank Coach Buckley, and it really wasn't until Connie asked me to talk about my experience that it really came to light that I can't imagine the kind of heat Coach Buckley might have taken by letting 4 really green, very green freshmen from other schools come out and try out for the North Central High School team. I mean, he must have had returning letterman saying, Coach Buckley, excuse me, I've put in a lot of time here, and you're going to allow 4 freshmen to come take my place? I don't think so. Many parents probably gave him a tough time as well. So I want to thank Coach for giving us the opportunity, because after the dust cleared and the tryouts, he was very fair, not biased at all. I think Coach Buckley was probably surprised to find out that a quarter of his team, the 12 varsity members, were 4 freshman players for the first time. And I want to thank Coach for that, because I think it laid the groundwork for a lot of the players after us who were freshmen, and Coach had the vision to really see that it was going to be all his talent was getting younger and younger, and he felt that in order for North Central to maintain its dynasty, that he was going to have to be progressive and allow something like this to happen. So I really want to thank Coach for that opportunity. He really made a big influence on myself and Brant and Stanley and Dan Rexroth, who aren't here right now. But I really want to thank him for that. Stanley's here. I said Dan's not here. Dan Rexroth's not here. But I really want to thank Coach for that, and I want to thank him for being a part of my tennis career, for everything he's done for North Central High School, and I wish him best of luck in all his future endeavors. Thanks so much, guys.
Before I bring up the 95 team, I just want to remind David Held that the older you get, the better you were. And without further ado, I'd like to bring up Nick Hammond and the 95 team, all members that are here, the state championship. Present.
Coach on.
I'm Nick Hammond. We represent Coach Buckley's favorite and best team. 1995 state championship team. We consider it such an honor to have been Coach Buckley's final team, and that was sent off at Triple Crown, which most people probably know is a state title and a singles title and a doubles title. That's the first time it's ever been done. So proud of that. And also, we enjoyed meeting all you old guys tonight. Because, frankly, we're sick and tired of hearing all this speeches Coach Buckley gave about you. There's not enough complimentary words that you can say about such a caring man as Coach Buckley. He's done so much for so many people that it's hard to believe he won't be at North Central next year to perform some more of his magic. But there's one thought that I always remember about Coach Buckley. It happened on the day we won state this year. Zach Hill had just completed this week Homestead, and we gathered in Court 11 to receive our medals, and Coach Buckley asked me what hospital Jeff Springer was staying in. Jeff Springer, as probably a lot of you know, had pneumonia and was very ill. And he thought the day would only seem complete if Jeff was part of our day. I was so envious of him that he just won his 15th state title. It was his final match at North Central, and all I could think about was Jeff Springer. He was better at Raleigh Hospital. I really admire Byron Buckley, and I hope that when he retires, he'll still be able to perform some more of his magic. Because he has touched all of us in a way that we'll never forget for the rest of our lives. And if Coach Buckley will come up here, we have some guests coming. On behalf of all your former players, their parents, and fans, I'd like to present to you this plaque. And it has all the years and its records. Don't forget that.
We'd be remiss without having Coach come up, say a few words. After 21 years, we think that he's had enough to say to all of us. But Coach Buckley, he's just
This is fantastic. I just thank all of you and the plaque, and they have a neat little card in here, and also I got a check which is overwhelming. And just thank you, everybody. I just appreciate that so much. You guys have been so good through the years, and this is just an example of that. When I came in tonight with my lovely wife here, and she's my Susie. Susie is what tennis players call an intelligent, beautiful woman, and Susie. And I also have another Susie here, my daughter. But when we was coming in with Mrs. Shirley, we called her Susie also. And she definitely is. And when we came in, I thought it was neat that Rick Hurst was at the door, because Rick Hurst was one of the first players on the team in 1975. And then later I saw Tom Rogers. And I remember when I went to North Central was that Tom Rogers, I still in mind, I remember the tennis house, and I remember him explaining to me the peace games. He had this medal, and he participated in the peace games, and I didn't know what it was, and but I thought it was pretty outstanding. It turned out where they gave such nice medals, and then later that day I remember going out and showing the guys about serving, and I'll never forget this. I don't know if they remember or not, but I had a lot of spin on my serve, not much kick, not much pace. And I hit a serve, and it went in court, and it did a left-hand turn, and went right to the fence to the receiver. No way they could return it. And they just looked at me kind of weird. They had never seen anything like that before. And I wish I'd stopped then. I should have. I I've never done that before in my life, ever before. But also, something interesting that Rick did, my approach tonight was to have people stand up. And he started out with people standing up, and that's what I was thinking about doing. But I'd like to do that. I'd like for all the players here, if we have any number one players that played on number one at North Central, would you please stand up and play the tough number one position through the years. That's a tough position to learn. Always the targets of the other teams, the number ones, because all the other teams in there always want to be number one class. Also, something I'm very proud of at North Central is the players who won the mental attitude. Do we have any mental attitude award winners? Will you guys please stand up? Rick identified people that's on 4 state championships, 3, 2, and 1. But I also think that really makes me feel good tonight that's here. Are there any coaches from other teams here tonight that coached other teams? Would you please stand up? This really kind of touched me when Jack came, because in 1975, Lafayette Jeff beat us in a very close match, 3-2. And he did a tremendous job motivating his players. And, to win that match, it's a winning match. They had a lot of foot speed. He did a great job preparing them for the match. And then next year, it's the only team I ever known at North Central, Jack doesn't know this, but it's the only team at North Central where the guys really worked so hard and they wanted to play Lafayette Jeff again. And they were actually hoping Lafayette Jeff would win. Usually a lot of teams are nervous about who wins in the morning round. And they wanted to win because they wanted to play Lafayette Jeff again. And the second time we played him again, he had a great group of people like Brian Martin, who's a pro now over Kentucky, and he had a great team. And the guys really went out there, and it was a great match. And I know Tom Rogers, and I don't start saying names because I leave people out, played so well that day. And they beat Lafayette Jeff. And that was probably the strongest tennis team that Lafayette Jeff has ever had, was during that time. And he did an excellent job, and I really appreciate my old adversary coming here. He's a movie star now, but cheesy a little bit, he's getting some movies. But we appreciate you coming. And also, I appreciate the man behind you, because President Lafayette Jeff coach, because he has always handled himself as a gentleman. He's won one of the best tournaments, Dave Thomas has, in the state of Indiana, the oldest tournament, in the Lafayette Jeff tournament. And there's always a barometer, a litmus test for North Central. If we could win that Lafayette Jeff tournament, we always felt like we'd win the state, because there was an omen. When we won that Lafayette Jeff tournament, we always won the state. And he's been first class up there. He's been a sportsman. He's always demanded good conduct from the players, and they always respected you for that, as you're a first class person. And Lynn from Crawfordsville, and she's coached both the boys and girls at Crawfordsville. We appreciate you coming, and she's been very active on the Hall of Fame committee, and we appreciate that. Makes me feel good when coaches against come in and come to North Central. Now I got another question for people to stand up. How many of you guys? I got a letter from Tom Weezy, and he said, well, he's in Phoenix, Arizona. And he regretted he couldn't make it, but he said he always remembered the tough challenge matches, running the loop, and the hot August days, but also remember the friendships like David Hill and John Baxter and some other guys. So I'd like for all the guys that maybe did not play number one, but maybe were not mental attitude winners, and I would like for those guys to remember those things that he mentioned. The tough challenge matches, the hot summer days, and running loop. If you please stand up.
Everybody stands up.
We also had some state champions, singles and doubles, and I believe we have some doubles champions here tonight. So I'd like for the guys who have won the state in doubles and our singles, please stand up. We're the doubles champions. The group, I think, is just really special are the student managers. And because they go out there, a lot of the guys are student managers, try out for the team, and if they don't make it, then they volunteer to serve others. So I would like for anybody who's a student manager, that serves student manager, to stand up, please. There's another guy that's awful special. He's in my U.S. history class, and he tried out last year, and I don't want to put in conditions on the new coach because I want him to have the freedom to come in and coach the way he does. But one thing I would ask him to do, make this guy your manager. He's such a nice guy. He works around the tennis house, and that's Patrick Delisle, and I think he and his family can. So Patrick, would you stand up? So we had just a really special group of people, and I remember going back when I was playing center field, and Dixie Craner was on the mound pitching in Little League, and when Dixie pitched in Evansville, nobody hit him, and every once in a while somebody hit a ball in the infield. How many of you have played Little League baseball? Any Little League baseball players? Okay. You know how boring it gets. And I was out in center field throwing blocks at the left fielder. 11 years old. Nothing ever came out there. If it did, I wasn't ready for it anyway. And I looked over, and there's the late Bill Johnson, the only Purdue Big Ten champion from Texas. And I was a good friend of his brother, was a left fielder, and I was throwing blocks at his brother. And Louise Owens, and they're over there giving tennis lessons on the court. And I'm out there bored to death. And I see these people running around this tennis court having a lot of fun playing tennis. He's a lot more active. And so Barry Johnson, whose brother was giving instruction, said, would you like to play tennis? You know, and I said, oh, tennis is a sissy sport. I was age 11. What I didn't want him to know was I didn't know how to keep score. So I was just, you know, had to put up something because I was an 11-year-old macho man. So I said, this is a sissy sport, you know, and so I kind of played it off, but he talked me into playing, and I remember we went over and played in this tournament. I didn't know how to keep score, and he just had me stand at the net, and I think it bounced balls off my face and head and everything else, and I got this little plastic trophy, and that's how I got hooked on tennis, and then I took lessons from Louise Owens, who's done quite well in tennis. I think she's going to top women in 65 in the United States, and Bill Johnson was, you know, outstanding. And they gave me lessons, and then I went, I lived right by Evansville College, so people would call me up, and I'd have, I had clay courts on one side of the house where I lived, and I could see the hard courts, and I could see Memorial's courts, and they would call me and ask me which courts were available. Then, when I was 11, I actually gave lessons to other kids in the neighborhood. I thought tennis was so much fun that I gave lessons to some of my friends who didn't play, also thought it was a sissy sport, and because they didn't have to keep score either. And I kind of converted them to tennis, and then we would be on the Evansville College courts, and we would, the only while you played, like 45 minutes, you had to leave the courts, especially if you're 11 years old. So we had a deal. We said, when adults came in, and said, well, we'll let you have our court if you beat us. And so we took on all of the 11, 12, all adults, and sometimes we got beat up badly on the courts. But that's how I really got into tennis. And I really loved the sport. And in high school, I was probably recognized more for track than I was tennis. And sometimes, and Herman Keller was my tennis coach and PE teacher, and also his basketball coach. He had a couple state championships. He was, Chuck knows him, he was on the IHSA board of directors for years, and every time North Central would win, this man would always cut out a news clipping and send it to me from Brown County. A wonderful man. And and then Max Smith was a track coach, and sometimes I'd play a tennis match, and then I'd have to go run 440, the half mile, and the mile relay. So sometimes it made a real long day. But because I was having to play tennis, which they allowed you to do back then, do two sports in the same season, I learned not to be a baseliner because I just hated that mile relay when I had a long match. And back then they didn't have a tiebreaker. It could go on for 3 or 4 hours, you know, and then the track coach would be mad at me. Now, Kevin Wendelberg can understand this because Kevin, who played 2 years at North Central, and I hated to see a guy leave, and Kevin went to Atlanta, Georgia. His dad transferred with Eli Lilly, and he was one of the best cross-country runners in the state of Georgia, and he developed that from running the loop. And he also is one of the best tennis players. And Kevin is a pilot now, and he's flown in from Atlanta, Georgia, and we appreciate you being here. And the other thing I was going to ask, is there anybody that's come here that's been farther? I think Brant Wagner is living in Central Florida, and we appreciate you coming back. Is there anybody here farther than Central Florida or Atlanta, Georgia? You have, I know some people come a long distance. And Stockholm, Sweden? No. Okay. So, my two sons right now are in California, and they weren't able to be here. They're in college in California. But, so that's how I got involved in tennis, and I was very fortunate in life. God has really blessed me because I really had some great coaches. I mean, Herman Keller was a great coach, Max Smith, and then when I was in college, I had Aaron McCutcheon, and they have a stadium named after him, and he had five or six national basketball championships. I tried out for the basketball team there, but my competition was Jerry Sloan, who later became NBA player and a great defensive player, and the other guard was 6'7", and so McCutcheon, who was my tennis coach, said, "Buck, I think you're going to sit on the bench a lot." And I said, "Coach, you're right." And I actually ended up playing Air Force ROTC ball, and we got to go to Florida and Germany, Alabama, and I thought that was great in college, get to travel around and play in Air Force teams. But Aaron McCutcheon taught me a lot. He said, I'm a math teacher, and he told me his math class was more important than coaching basketball. And here's a guy who has a stadium named after him, and 5 national basketball champions in his college division. They only lost to Ohio State by 7 points when they had Jerry Lucas and Havlicek and Siegfried and Noah and the guy by the name of Bobby Knight on that team. And, pardon? Yeah, he was a sub, right, I remember that. He was the sub on the team. He was point guard, Bobby Knight was, but he was a good player. But anyway, so here's a man who taught me a lot. He said, "Buck, if you coach tennis, you only make, or whatever you coach, probably 1%, and 99% you'll be paid teaching. And always make teaching your number one, and coaching your number two." So I thought that was really good advice, and I appreciate Chuck Hurley saying that about my teaching, because I do value that very much through the years. So then I graduated from college, and I got to play a lot of tennis at Evansville. And when I graduated, I was looking, back then there was all kinds of jobs open for teachers, not like today. There was a shortage of teachers. So I had 3 or 4 job offers, and one of them was Evansville North, who just beat Ben Davis in football last weekend. And I decided to, I applied at Jennings County. I went through the education thing, they had these cards. I know Jack can relate to this, and some of you are teachers. And by the way, I wanted to ask, are there any teachers, coaches here? Anybody's been a teacher or a coach? Yeah, Billy Walker, been one of the great administrators and a very good friend in North Central. In fact, Billy had always, every time North Central beat Carmel in tennis, he'd go over and get a haircut at the Carmel Barber Shop. And I've been in North Central 21 years, and we played Carmel twice, and that's 42 times. And North Central record against Carmel has been 37-5. So he's had 37 haircuts. It's been great for school spirit, and always supported North Central. Also, I was very pleased they had to leave because of attending the funeral tonight. Miles Nelson, my grandfather died. I didn't know that, but Marty and Nick Hill are now coaches in Illinois, and they're at opposite schools. I think Eastern and Western Illinois, or Northern and Southern Illinois. They're 2 different things, but it made me feel very good to see North Central players becoming coaches at college level. So. Also, I wanted to ask, is there any players who have been in here, or people here tonight, who have been have given instruction, have worked as a pro or given instruction? Will you please stand up? The ones who later become instructors, Noah Carr, I've seen him down on the rackets floor. And look at all these people who worked in the Western Township program and have been instructors. DA, I don't know why you're not standing up. Barbara went. I don't know why you know. Barbara started talk tennis, and I think everybody went through talk tennis in this room. Great instructors, but that's one of the reasons I think North Central has been successful. They've had good instruction, and they've also passed it on to other players, the instruction they received. Do we have any people here have been on the have been pros or made money playing tennis? Made any prize money? Did you play tennis? Okay, Brant Wagner.
They gave me money. I was given by his parents.
Jenny Purdy, she's too modest to stand up. But we've had some playing pros also come out of North Central. And by the way, Brant Wagner is, I think, the only player we've had that's been a hockey and tennis player. Those two combinations. And went to a school where they had hockey and also went up to Carl Crowder at the same school. Yeah, what I remember about Carl Crowder was, and I felt it, unfortunately the Red Sox couldn't be here, and they felt bad about it, and they sent me a gift, and they sent me some books I knew I would enjoy, spiritual books, but they were such a great family, the Red Sox family. They had 5 sons. I think the shortest was 6'2", and I think the tallest was 6'9". They all played doubles, and they all played the violin. Just a tremendous family, and I think Carl, was it Nathan was your doubles partner, and he was 6'9", right? And I remember Buff, when he served, rough players tried to move up to the service line because he hit that big serve, and if they hit it over, the guy's called Carl Popeye. Popeye would come across because of his big arms, and he put that volley away, and they were quite a pair. And unfortunately, they didn't have to stay doubles at that time. But that'll be one of my fond memories of all the Rex Ross, and they really regret not being here. They had a family commitment. And I think a lot of them played with the Rex Ross brothers in doubles or on their team. So after I decided to go to Jennings County, and the reason I went to Jennings County, and I could have taught at 3 or 4 other schools, was I really wanted to start a grassroots program. I really wanted to go in to an area where they did not have tennis and start it from scratch and see what I want, what I could do. And one of the best things that happened to me at North Vernon, and later consolidated Jennings County with about 1,400 students. A lot of people think that's a small school, but actually it's bigger than a lot of Indianapolis schools. And was one of the best things that ever happened to me there was I saw this Susie walking down the hall, this beautiful gal, taking attendance. I'm embarrassing her now. And she was taking attendance, and Chuck will tell you, she was the best looking girl in the school. And I had my eye on her, but when you're a young teacher, you're not allowed to date the students. So you're a student. That was a no-no. And but later on, she got a job at the bank, and I remember pulling up and asking her out, and that was one of the best decisions I made because she has been kind of the background, but when I've been busy coaching tennis and going off on Saturdays, she does all the finances, family, she does a lot of things that freed me up to take care of coaching and teaching. And if any of you, Billy Walker can understand this, and ones that Jack can understand this, how important the wives are, and how they stay in the background, but they're also very supportive of a lot of things. And oftentimes, she was both a mother and father to our kids on Saturdays because I'd be gone. So I just appreciate it, and that's one of the best things that ever happened to me was being here. The other day, Elaine and I go back through North Vernon, and we went to go to the high school, which later became a junior high, and all of a sudden it wasn't there. And they had just taken it and built a nice big junior high, and it was gone. But where the matches were, we had 4 tennis courts, and was now being used for a playground. They were still there, and it brought back a lot of memories. I remember one of the best teams when I was at Jennings County. A lot of other schools did not have tennis teams, so the closest teams were Seymour had a program, Columbus had a program, and we played sometimes 35 to 40 matches because we used to have fall and spring. And I traveled a lot. We'd go play local teams, we played Evansville teams. In fact, I even Little Headers, North Central, tried to get them on our schedule. And the only schools that play us back then, because I can understand that now, because they had everything to lose and nothing to win playing an unknown school, a rural school, a country school. But Sacred Heart played us. I don't know if you remember the school called Sacred Heart. And also it came up when we played for Bucks. Now back then they had 5 singles and 2 doubles. They had 7 points. And if you played singles, you could also play in the doubles. And some of these, they didn't have tiebreakers, so some of these matches really went into the darkness. And I remember we went over Seymour, and I got in the car and went over there. The player said, "Coach, don't expect us to beat Seymour. This is your first year. We know you're enthusiastic. You play college tennis. You think you're pretty hot. But don't think that we can beat these guys, you know." So I stopped the car around Hayden, Indiana, right outside, and said, "Guys, we're going back to class. We're going back to a 10th period study hall or whatever." And they didn't want to go back to study hall. And they said, "Wait a minute." I said, "I'm not going to any match where guys cannot believe they can win. In tennis, the only sports compared to that is wrestling, which Chuck really started at James County because he was Big Ten wrestling champion in IU. Did a tremendous job there. And the only sports compared is wrestling and boxing, where you're one-on-one. And there's so much psychology. So they decided they wanted to go back to school. And so we went over, to make a long story short, we won that match. And but one of the things I hate to tell is kind of embarrassing. Most of you know me when I've kind of mellowed out, like, you know, letting the players sneak in late and teasing about going over to Susie's house. But one of the things that back then I wasn't, and I was very intense, almost too intense, and I'm embarrassed because we were playing Seymour, and one thing the players know, the only time I ever got mad at them is when they didn't make the effort. I think you're not going to win every match. Pros don't win every match. You're going to have bad days. But I do expect all-out effort. I expect an effort-oriented team. And so we go over to Seymour, and these guys, you know I'm not too happy with them anyway. Their attitude going in the match. And so they start playing, and I go down with the doubles team, and they're not even trying. I mean, they're so psyched out, they're not trying. And they're not making an effort. So I got mad, and I picked up this clipboard, and I threw it down on the sidewalk, and it just shattered with the clipboard. And all the players looked at me, and I said, I cannot stand a team that does not make an effort. I'll never forget that, And I had a little temper tantrum. And the guys came back, and they won the match. And I remember, I think it was Dale Scott was the coach then at Seymour. And he comes up, and he said, "You're a young coach." He said, "I don't mind you having temper tampers to motivate your team." But he said, "That was my clipboard." I was so embarrassed. I had to go buy him a clipboard and send it to him and write a letter of apology. You never do that. Letter of apology for my attitude, my temper I had. But there were some great moments, and also because they had long matches, it get dark. I mean, one time we didn't have lights. So one of the coaches we were playing, I think it was Greensburg or somewhere, and they decided, let's get this in. And it was close, so we'll just pull our cars up and turn on the lights on the court. It was a true story. And so we had one guy that there, he had kind of a receded hairline and he had a big forehead. And we're playing, and of course, as you know, that if the ball hits you, it's the other person's point. So it's a real decisive point. I think it was match point or something, and it was getting real dark. You couldn't see anything up there. And Greensburg hit the ball, and it hit the guy right in the forehead, our player. He was standing in the net. Couldn't see it at all. Hit it, and went right over the net, and they used to use wooden rackets. I don't know if you remember this. And one of the Greensburg players said, "I think that hit him." And he said, "No, it hit wood. It hit wood, And the guy said, "Yeah, I think it did hit wood. I heard wood." And we looked over at him. He had a big red spot. So we had to yield that point in that match. I never forget the red spot. And then we went down and played a local school, and I think it was St. X. They had good teams. Global and New Albany were strong back in the 60s. And we went back down there and played. They had St. X had a couple guys who were 6'3", big guys, and doubles. They were identical twins, and you just couldn't tell them apart. And we were playing on clay courts, and the players came over and they were getting beat. And they said, "Coach, we got a problem here." And I said, "What's that?" And he said, "We watch these. You always tell us to watch guys warm up, look for the weaknesses. We watched these two twins warm up. One of them's got a great serve, the other's got a lousy serve. But he said, what they're doing is the same guy, we think, serving all the time." And I said, "What do we do, Coach?" And I said, "You got a problem there." I looked at it, I couldn't tell them apart. So I said, maybe we're going to have to mark him or something. So here's this guy, he's only about 5'6", which makes it kind of funny. And he's going over to have clay courts. I don't remember the old clay courts, they used to lime them. In fact, I did this when I was in high school. Lime clay courts, and they had lime courts, and ball hit and dust and lime would come up. So what they did at the changeover, my player, 5'6", is the big guy come over, he's getting his water treatment, and he's sort of kicking lime dust on his shoes so he can mark him, you know. And this guy from Louisville, you know, St. X says, "What are you doing?" You know, he said, "Well, the coach told me to mark you, you know, and we think you're serving every time, you know." And that stopped that, though, but it was kind of embarrassing for the player. So. But we did come up to Brebeuf and we brought this team up. I had some really good athletes. They were football, basketball players, and we played in the spring. And in fact, one time the track team was right by the courts, and the tennis players were late to this. They were making fun. Oh, look at those tennis players over there. So we had a couple guys that were really good football and basketball players, very fast. So I said, "Guys, I think you've heard enough of this, haven't you?" So I said, "Coach," the track coach, friend of mine, I said, "Bring your dashman." He said, "We got the dashman." I said, "Bring him over here." I said, "I got a couple guys that want to run against him, and we're sick of putting down tennis players. These great track guys you have." To make a long story short, the tennis guys went out and just ran away from him in a 100-yard dash. And the track coach came in and he said, "Buckley, what's these guys doing playing tennis? They should be on the track team here, you know." And I said, "Well, tennis is a sport too. I think you'll find it very challenging. You should play it yourself." And they enjoyed it. So, but anyway, we came up to Brebeuf. We had this group of players. They were nice players. In fact, they got beat by New Albany in a close match, and New Albany went up in one state. So we come up and we beat Brebeuf 5 straight, all singles, I think straight sets. And the coach said, "I cannot believe a group of guys from Southern Indiana come up here and beat us, and we're the best team in Indianapolis, and come up here and beat us, sweep all 5. And he was so mad at his players, he said, "We default to doubles." Now what he had not known was that I had written Arthur Ashe. And Arthur Ashe was from UCLA. He was an ROTC. He was stationed at Fort Benjamin Harrison. And I invited Arthur Ashe to come down. I was going to get one of the local banks to sponsor it and have him put on a clinic. And he said they wouldn't let him off the base. They really treated him poorly. And they would not let him off the base. He was in special service. So I asked the Brebeuf coach, he was mad. I said, "Can you tell me where Fort Benjamin Harrison is?" So he told me. We went out there. The guy stopped his gate, and I said, "We want to see Arthur Ashe. You can see we're tennis players," and he let us in. So Arthur was out there, and he had a Judge Davis Cup warm-ups on. And he went through and each player and told him, you know, what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong. And he showed about back when they played, they used Australian twist serve and throw the ball behind them. They bend their knees out, put a big kick on the ball. They had that Bosco Tanner serve where you bring both feet together, you're falling off the wall, you lock your knees. So what the receiver did, he said, just read the person's knees. When you see it go out, they have a big kick. Keep the knees together, the receiver said flat serve. So Arthur Ashe was so intelligent. What he did was, he decided, I need advantage. He was a serve volley player. He said, "I need advantage." So what he did, he said, "What I did was that I took my wrist and came up over top the ball, kept my knees locked, and then I would flip that wrist on and come up over the top of the ball and put topspin on it, so they're expecting a flat serve. And just that, you know, just throwing them off a little bit gave me that momentum to go into the net and hit the ball over the court." So I learned so much. I think the only person I've learned more about tennis probably is PA, that session, because I've learned a lot being on PA through the years, and I really appreciate, you know, because this guy, you know, I read somewhere Nick Balotelli considered the best pro. No way. PA is the best pro. And, but anyway, Arthur Ashe was so nice. The guy came over and said, you know, "It's time to eat, Arthur." You know, he said, "Hey, I've got some friends here from Jennings County." And he went through all these players, and he helped me so much, and I remember a lot of things. And then what happened, I had a very good player who played also baseball, came up to the summer tennis program I had in North Vernon, and he played one of John Shirley's players down at Bloomington. And this North Central player was a very nice player. I think they called him human backboard because he got everything back. And my player went 3 sets with him. John Shirley came up to me, wonderful man. He said, "Because of my health, I will not be able to coach." But he asked the guy, he said, "Who taught you to play?" He said, "Coach Buckley from age 11. So he told me, he said, "I want somebody to come in and keep our program going. I just don't want to babysit or coach. And I'd like, if you could, come to North Central. And then Chuck Hurley here helped and wrote, and I came up, and Dean Evans was the superintendent, and I was so impressed with Dean Evans and the people at North Central, and that's how I came to North Central to coach tennis. And it was a big adjustment because once you drink that Muscatatuck River water, Southern Indiana, you love it. And for us, it's a great place to bring up a family. And I've always loved Southern Indiana. So for me to come up, and I know it was quite an adjustment for the players to see this guy come up here as a coach, but they were wonderful. And the parents have been wonderful, been very supportive. Every year we just get a great group of parents who, like this banquet tonight, these ladies put this on. I mean, this is just fantastic. It's been that way. I see parents going out, the professionals, going and cleaning out the restrooms, and squeezing the courts. I mean, you know, North Central parents are the reasons why we've been successful. And they have instilled that into the young people. So this has just been a fantastic trip for me. I had some things I wanted to share, and but I also want to tell you a couple of Sean Buck stories. Sean Buck, yeah, I'll be honest with you, he was one of my favorites, but all my players were favorites. Because of people like David Bastian, we get Sean into awkward positions. A player from Mooresville really didn't realize how lucky he was. And Mooresville, by the way, when I came, had a very good tennis team. They had a couple guys played at Ball State, like Mike Bagley, the later coach at Perry Meridian. Rick Hurst was there. They were good. Goldsmith, I think, was another guy. They had a nice team. And but I remember Sean Buck beat one of their players, and as he was coming off the courts, he kept kicking the fence, the gate. He was so mad, you know. And Sean turned around and said, "You know, you shouldn't really destroy our equipment like that, you know." And the guy said, "You want to fight?" You know. And Sean Buck said, "Grow up," and just walked away. Just, you know, ignored him. Now that guy really didn't know how lucky he was because David Bastian, David here? Yeah. David's here. He knows this. I heard that David Bastian lined up a fight. They have gloves or bare knuckles with Brad Leaf, Lawrence North basketball star, 6'5", played professional basketball. There was these two big horses, and he lined up and somehow convinced Sean to get into that fight. So they could have lost their eyesight.
Sean made a lot of money.
They made a lot of money. And David went around and had all the students come out and watch it, you know, and booked it, you know, and thing. So that's one of my Sean Buck stories. Another one was that when we were going to Lafayette Jeff, and they used to have, now they have 3 rounds. And you younger players, players right now, really don't know how lucky you are. Doug Purdy can tell you that they used to have 4 rounds. And this is before Nate Thomas was coach, and when Jack was coach. But they actually, it always seemed amazing. We'd go up there, and they'd have the tough Carmel, North Central in one bracket. Then they have Lafayette Jeff in other brackets with weaker teams. And we had played 4 rounds. I think Doug knows what I'm talking about here. And Sean Buck went up, and I always tell the guys that if they go to tournaments, although they're all tournament players, and you know, they don't really need the story. But I like to tell stories. And so, anyway, we're going up there, and Sean Buck plays a player from Perry Meridian. So he decides he's going to work on his kick serve. So he just goes out there in the first round, just messes around. And he lets the Perry Meridian guy get his confidence. And I think he beats him in the first set 7-5. This is over at the country club, Lafayette Country Club. So I go over there, and he's in the 3rd set. I mean, he's struggling. I mean, he's down something like 4-1. He makes a comeback, but he's completely exhausted after the first round. And so then he has 3 more rounds to play. Now, Sean came through, and I think won his division, but on the way home, he sounded, here's a guy, he's a big guy, he sounded like a wounded buffalo. He had leg cramps. I think one of Rex Ross also had leg cramps. I remember Doug Purdy one time put an ice pack in the back of his shorts up there, and he said, "No way am I going to lose this match," you know. And it was endurance. So I always tell the players that when you go into a tournament, don't work on your game, you know. Go out there and get every match over as quick as you can. Play efficient because you have a long time. So those are some of the Sean Buck stories that the players have had to endure. But he was a great athlete. He went to the Naval Academy. I have a lot of respect for him. And like a lot of North Central people, everybody in this room is successful. And there are a lot of them in professions. In fact, one of the parents said, wouldn't it be nice to know where each one of these people are today, what they're doing for a living? And I kept going up and asking them tonight about that. Something else I'd like to share with you, and it might bring back some memories. One of the fun things I've had in coaching is really talking to the players before big matches, like state tournaments. And to me, this has been one of the fun things. And a few years ago, I was walking, I got a book from the bookstore. It's called Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. And I used to play 3-on-3 basketball after school when I weighed 160 pounds. And if you've got, you guys know and gals do too, you play to 12, and sometimes you'll be real close, and then you'll miss a little easy shot, and the other group you're playing makes that shot, and then you get so mad, you think, oh my goodness, if I hit that shot. So then you play another game, then you can relate to this. You play another game, and you're so mad sometimes that you end up playing terrible basketball. And I used to be that way. I miss a shot, oh, it makes me so mad, especially this crucial point. But Maxwell Maltz did plastic surgery, and he can make you look beautiful, make you look handsome. He found out, even though he was doing plastic surgery, that people still had low self-esteem, did not feel good about themselves. So he wrote this book, and I read it, and it was about, you really should believe in yourself, and you should have confidence. And when you make a mistake, like in typing, I know my wife told me this back when she took typing, that oftentimes you make a mistake, you think about it, and make 2 or 3 other mistakes. So what I try to instill in the players is that when you make a mistake, forget about it. It's over. Just go to the next point. It helped me so much in playing basketball, and I try to get into tennis, this mental approach. But here's some things I really enjoy doing, and I think that's one of the reasons North Central has been really successful. I think back when people have come up here, and everybody put on the mental toughness. People have been down, and I don't want to start naming people, I'll leave people out in matches, but they just hung in there and just gave it a little bit additional. Maybe it was the pride of being the legacy, being a North Central player. I remember, and you guys are kind of thinking about that right now, they remember exactly what I'm talking about. And I see Rick Towel back there thinking about his Tommy Lynch matches, with their dog fights, it just took so much effort to do those. But I think one of the reasons is that people have been mentally tough at North Central. I remember Kevin McCown, so I didn't mention him, but he played a guy by the name of Kent Kinnear, who was a very good player in high school. I mean, he did. In fact, he won the Planner's Peanut, where he used to they put targets on the court. This guy, 6'5", you wouldn't think he had an eye coordination. He won the National Planner's Peanut target tennis. And so Kevin's playing this big guy on the close circuit now, doing pretty well the last few years. And they played 2 sets, and I come up to Kevin and Greg, and I say, Kevin, he's big. He's worn out. You got him now. You worked him down, he can't stay with you in the 3rd set. You're in better shape, you're quicker, you're shorter, you're quicker, and you're faster, and you got him, And Kevin will beat. Kevin will always beat him in the 3rd set, and a lot of mental toughness. But here's some of the things that I just jotted down, and I'm sure it'll bring back some memories of players. Some of my things before matches. I know Mark Rackman will appreciate this first one, this year's team. Everyone has butterflies before important matches. The secret is to make those butterflies fly in formation. And Mark had some butterflies, like all of us do, before state doubles, and he and Ryan Christie both had, because they hadn't played well in the early round. But they went out and played a perfect match, practically. Beat a good New Albany team, I think it was 6-2, 6-0. So they made those butterflies fly in formation, believe me. Here's another one I always like to say, losers let it happen, winners make it happen. You can remember I said that many times. Here's one that was original. We respect everyone but fear no one. In other words, I wanted my players to be nice to players, but as soon as they went on the court, they became gladiators. As soon as you closed that gate, you became gladiators. Told to be nice to people, but when he got on that court, he was a gladiator. In fact, one thing also, Columbus North had a nice article in the Columbus paper when we beat in the semi-state. So North Central players, in the greatest confidence, said they were just like surgeons. They went out there quietly, performed surgery on us, and they got off the courts and went to the next match. Went on with their business. So sometimes we would give surgeon awards and some of these guys have become surgeons or will be surgeons. In fact, it's kind of interesting. How many of the players are in the medical profession or going into the medical profession? North Central players. 7, okay. Some hands up here. So they know exactly what we're talking about. So we just give a surgeon award. Here's one of my favorite ones that I used to, because guys would be nervous. You can understand why before a state championship match. One time I got real silly at one of the teams. I actually brought them in and gave them paydays and looked at them kind of stupid. And I'd always tell them, this is your payday. You've worked hard, your parents invested time in you, your mothers have driven you. And one thing I noticed is really good, especially the last few years, we have fathers that are out there in the tennis program. David Schumacher was an excellent help this year for me. We had fathers on the team. This year's team, basically, they were helping. In fact, we had a terrible tragedy. I don't know if you read about the bus tragedy. And our AD was right at the front of the bus. I mean, this guy was in shock, and that happened on Friday night. And he came in, and there's no way he could run state tournament. But Gil Hammond used his administrative abilities. Jim Riley became the announcer, and David Schumacher, and all kind of just actually ran the state tournament in his behalf. So that's it used to be the mothers got a lot of credit because they had to be the taxi cabs and drive players here and there, and they did in Port Royal. But I'm glad to see the dads on North Central also crediting Port Royal. So I tell them, this is your payday. You guys are going to win this match. And you've worked hard, you've better condition, you've run the loop. I always thought Rick Hurst and Bill Bashman set the tone when they had guys over the stadium, running up and down the stadium with weights on their shoulders. And I was glad to hear that Jack Walters, who was an interim coach, who's become a successful basketball player. I think that year actually, he coached Jack Walters and Harrison and basketball, that he got guys conditioned. And so when I came in, it's leadership. And that's another factor. North Central's always had good senior leaders. And when we didn't have good senior leaders, that's when we had a little problems sometimes. But sitting in this audience, and again I'll leave people out, you know that a lot of you are great senior leaders, that you stepped up. And that's very important. So anyway, we'd say this is payday, you worked hard with other people, you're going to go out there and win, this is your moment, and you deserve it, and you walk proudly in the hallways on Monday, and all the Susies will say, wow, so if you're in the thing. And another one I like, we had up, is PA committee kids also, practice does not make perfect, good practice makes perfect. And I think in North Central we try to make practice. Sometimes they weren't. Sometimes they're pretty lousy. And the guys remember like Tom Weezy's the 5-point drill. Nobody liked it because everybody started arguing. I kind of liked it because I thought it had some advantage until guys started arguing. And overhead drills. And good practice does make perfect. And another one I'll bore you with. Everyone wants to win state championships, but very few are willing to practice hard to win state championships. That's been the difference. A lot of people in classroom won A's, but they're not willing to do the homework to make A's. And these young men here were willing to practice, not only during the season, but on the off season. That's what makes it a state champion. So those are some of the things I wanted to share with you. And a couple other things. And then I know it's late and you need to be on your way, and I appreciate everybody coming, especially those that have to drive long distance. Winston Churchill once said, everyone has his day, and some days last longer than others. God has been very good to me. I've had my day. It's time for somebody else to have some fun in North Central. I'm sure they will, because we'll have a great team, 8 or 12 grades coming back, some real good talent. I've had my day, and it's lasted awfully long, and it's been awfully fun. Churchill also is one of my favorites. He also said, now this is not the end, it's not even the beginning of the end, but it is perhaps the end of the beginning. Because it was John Shirley who really was the beginning. We only had 2 coaches, and I'm kind of the transition coach here in between. Another thing that I liked was always my favorite, sometimes I give it to you guys, and I remember before matches, Teddy Roosevelt said, far better it is to dare mighty things, to win glorious triumphs, even though checkered by failure, than to take rank with these poor spirits who neither enjoy much nor suffer much because they live in the great twilight that knows not victory nor defeat. So even if you won a state championship team, you gave out there and you gave it your very best. And Barbara Lynn knows this, and she's been to Wilmington. I haven't, but she's been there. I'm sure this is on Wilmington. But if you can meet triumph and disaster, and treat those two imposters just the same, if you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings nor lose the common touch, yours is the earth and everything that's in it, and which is war, you'll be a man, my son. And I'm a government teacher, and I was thinking, and I love the Constitutional Convention. I've probably read more books on that than anything else. And if we would compare success at North Central to program, then John Shirley would have been the George Washington. I always like George Washington because he started government off on the right step. John Shirley started it off on the right step. He was so helpful to me. And probably the James Madison would have been Barbara Lynn. James Madison had the plan. He had the program of a new government. Barbara Lynn had the program. And she's been wonderful, so supportive of the family. I've loved her for that through the years. And so does Elaine. We both love Barbara Lynn. And she had the plan. She started the program and everything. Then there's another person I tell my government teachers that he actually, Governor Morris was the one that laid out the Constitution. But the most brilliant guy, he never got credit, the most brilliant guy that put it in outline form, also challenged sometimes Madison's things and said, maybe it'd be better to work this way, was James Wilson in Pennsylvania. He was brilliant. But he never got much credit. And I think PA was probably James Wilson. We had the Constitutional Convention because PA is now getting some credit that he deserves. I think he's what Midwest Pro of the Year a few years ago, and I think he's getting some credit. A lot of my success is because of PA and he's doing a super job with these young men. What would be my role? Well, I wouldn't want to compare myself to Ben Franklin. He was a genius. That would be. Anybody was old. He was 82. So when you get my age, the other people say he's old. Ben Franklin was 30 years older, but he had a great sense of humor. And I remember one match. I told the guys, don't worry. I said the best thing about this going to state finals is that. If you lose, then people will probably, the only thing they'll probably say to you is, what happened to you guys? And they don't know tennis anyway. They don't even come to matches. So who really cares? I'm trying to take the pressure off. In fact, I told them, I said, I'm really glad that people don't know tennis. If they knew tennis like they knew Indiana basketball, then they'd find out what a lousy coach I really am, So, and one of the guys said, you're right, coach. So one thing I'm going to really miss is the sense of humor. Young people kept me young with their great sense of humor, and then we'll laugh and joke with these guys. Well, that'll be fantastic. So we'll get a couple more, and then I'll finish up here. Guys I like is a guy by the name of Yogi Berra, and Teddy is a baseball player. He's a catcher for the Yankees. I know you know Yogi Berra. But he always came, and this is where my life is. When you come to a fork in the road, take it. I may be a silly guy. I may go over. Okay. When you come to a fork in the road, take it. And that's where I am right now in my life. Okay. Another line that Yogi Berra did, it was deja vu all over again. It was deja vu all over again. And that might kind of describe tonight. It was deja vu all over again. And another one I like for Yogi Berra was you can observe a lot by watching. Okay? And then there was another guy that was pretty good, Casey Stengel. He says, there comes a time in every man's life, and I've had many of them. Okay, that's where I am. This is that time in life. And there comes a time in every man's life, and I've had many of them. And but the thing I think I also remember about thing about sports and tennis at North Central is a lot of people say, does tennis or sports build character? I don't know if it does, but we do know one thing, it reveals character. And we have some young men here that will use this because a guy, a philosopher many years ago, Seneca was his name, said, far as the test of gold, adversity of strong men. And I think oftentimes being put under that pressure of state finals and sometimes adverse conditions, and we've really had some adverse conditions. We've hugged each other, we've cried together, we've laughed together. We've really had some adversity. But that is what really makes you strong. And I think that will serve you well throughout. And I want to finish with two other things. One of my favorite poems is, I'm sure you've heard it, I shall return this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence. Two roads diverge in the wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. And that's Robert Frost. Because there's a changeover every year in Indiana. Half the tennis coaches, 280 schools, leave. And it's not easy sometimes being a coach and a teacher. We have a lot of people not going into teaching today. And so it is becoming a kind of road less traveled by. But I'm glad I did. And I'm glad I coached and taught at North Central. And one final thing, and this one, because I like that poem about the road less traveled by, and I'm kind of like that in my life right now. Follow your rainbows, is by Clay Harrison. Follow your dream. And don't let your sorrows keep you downstream. Life isn't easy when troubles assail, but if you don't try, you always will fail. Let faith be your guide and follow your star. The less traveled road will take you afar. After the storm, bright rainbows appear. Leave your teardrops behind. There's nothing to fear. Follow your rainbows. Follow your dream. For only on top will you find the cream. And one final thing. This has been in the tennis house. In fact, I think PA or somebody put up above the plan. And I put up a few years ago, the AV department helped me put this together. Only as far as we seek can we go. Only as much as we dream can we be. And together we did it. The state is great, and now we see. So thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.